Hello and welcome to Tiki Taka Talks. This is the first episode of Tactical Point, a series where we have a tactical viewpoint to everything, player roles, player positions, and a lot more. So, if you are a tactics lover, you are at the right place. We officially enter the campaign of 2021, and it's been 10 years since the legendary sextuple. What a better way to kick off the channel other than to give a tribute to the one of the best teams that ever existed. So, here I bring forth the fabled Tiki Taka only on Tiki Taka Talks. Tiki Taka has been very crucial to Spain as well as Barcelona's success, and that's the topic of today's discussion. But before we move on to it, let me get your basics cleared. So, we'll be talking about control possession, we'll be talking about Tiki Taka in general, we'll be focusing on vertical Tiki Taka and a tribute to the legendary Pep Guardiola, the Pep Taka, or the Tiki Taka in Pep style. So, let's begin. Control possession is a style that depends on shorter passing and patient build up play. You try to move the ball out of defense, and the main focus is on retaining possession. Now, there are three key aspects whenever we discuss any tactical style. These are in possession, or when you have the ball, in transition, when you try to move the ball, out of possession, when you lose the ball. We'll be discussing all these three one by one. In control possession, you want to have a shorter passing game. You want to play out of defense. That is, you want to have the game in opponent's half, near to opponent's box rather than in your own half. Who doesn't want that, right? You move with lower tempo and try to work the ball into the box of opponent. And then you take short kicks. The general principle is taking shorter kicks by waiting patiently for openings and moving the ball into channels near to opponent's half. Defenders are really important to this style because it involves a higher defensive line. Your defenders will be near the midline, and this also guarantees the higher line of engagement. That is, whenever you lose a ball, you try to win it back as near to the opponent's half as possible. The pressing will be very urgent. As soon as you lose the ball, you try to get it back. The forwards and the wingers press the goalkeeper and the defenders so that the goalkeeper is not able to pass the defenders to play high. And that's what control possession is. You try to control the game of the opponent as well just by controlling the ball. Now moving on to Tiki Taka. Tiki Taka is an extreme variation of control possession style where you try to have shorter passes and patient build up play. However, the mentality is quite attacking as compared to control possession. In possession, when you have the ball, you try to have shorter passes and play out of defense. You want the ball to be in opponent's half. Talking about crosses, you have cutbacks and lower crosses like the Alba Messi connection. You try to dribble less and pass more. You try to deceive the opponents with your movement of the ball. You work the ball into the box patiently with a slightly lower tempo. In transition, you have to use your center backs. The pressing urgency has to be higher. It has to be extremely urgent in the case of Tiki Taka. The defensive lines are also higher. That means you try to win the ball near to the opponent's goal as much as possible and also prevent short goalkeeper distribution. That is, you mark the defenders, you try to press the goalkeeper as well so that he has to take long kicks. All in all, you try to control the game of the opponent as much as possible and you wait for those attacking channels to open by shortly passing the ball sideways and then trying to make those killer passes to score those goals. Now, this is the basic of Tiki Taka. No one actually uses these basic styles. Everyone has their own style, which are slightly based on Tiki Taka or control possession. Now, two of those styles are vertical Tiki Taka as well as the Pepi Taka, or that's how I call it. It's the Tiki Taka in Pep style. We'll be moving on to those styles one by one. So let's begin with vertical Tiki Taka. We will discuss vertical Tiki-Taka in more detail as compared to control possession and standard Tiki-Taka. This is a quick passing style of possession and movement with a narrower, more direct approach than the standard Tiki-Taka. This tactic heavily relies on defenders pushing high up on the pitch, pressing opposition players bravely and aggressively. Players must retain possession, but with a focus on moving the ball vertically towards the final third. Attacking players may interchange short quick passes in order to look for an opening between the central defender and fullback and two central defenders. As with any tactic that relies on high defensive line, this is a tactic which heavily relies on goalkeepers and center backs being very comfortable on the ball. Now, to give you an example of vertical tiki-taka in real life, Maurizio Sarri with his fabled Sare ball actually uses vertical tiki-taka, or he's supposed to be using. I have to be honest, I have never seen him really use it perfectly. But yeah, this tactic heavily depends on two key players or two player roles specifically. The two defenders have to be really good, and the most important role is the key pivot, or we as we call it the traditional number six in football, the defensive central defensive midfielder. He's the key pivot in transitional phases when you're trying to move the ball. The forwards must keenly anticipate, play quickly. They must be able to read the game properly in order to take advantage of any opportunity to push into space. They should continuously search for space and try to move into the gaps. As you can see, the wingbacks are wide option. They try to provide with an option of playing higher up the pitch, something like in gegenpress as well, which is heavily employed by Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, and he's really successful with it. That's pretty much it for vertical Tiki Taka. Now, here comes the tribute to the great Pep Guardiola and one of the best teams in the world, Barcelona of 2009 to 2011. Here goes the Pepi Taka or Tiki Taka in Pep style. Pep's Tiki Taka was simply amazing. If I have to describe it in three words, those will be overload, overlap, and compactness. Overload the opposition in all phases of play, that is defense, mid, and attack. Create numerical superiority, which makes you able to dominate and control the opposition's style of play in order to make them more predictable. Understand the importance of shapes and formation to aid ball circulation and chance creation, and combine it with high pressing to retain more possession in order to control the game. And that's how simple Tiki Taka is from a bird's eye view. But if we dive deeper, we can understand that how a thing so simple can be so complicated at the same time. So let's begin. The key features of Pep's Tiki Taka were: create more obvious goal scoring opportunities than the opposition, regain possession as quickly as possible and as close to the goal as possible. This required high defensive line as well as defenders comfortable on the ball. Record numerical superiority. This highlighted the importance of player roles and abilities. Xavi, Iniesta and Busquets were really efficient in doing this with their defense splitting passes as well as movement of the ball. They were able to create 2-on-1 situations. Now increase the amount of passing options, which required great awareness and movement of the ball. So for each player, you will have at least three different passing options, which really confuse the opposition. On the same time, make the opposition team predictable by reducing their passing options. If a team is predictable, it's easy to open them up and it's easy to score against them. Also, don't be too predictable yourself. You have to attack from both wings, right, left, and also from the center. And that's how Pep framed it. By playing wider when in possession, Guardiola's team wanted to create larger spaces in and attack through what can be referred to as the half space, outnumbering and overloading the fullback and penetrating the space between the fullback and the closest central defender. I simply loved how Spain and Barcelona passed the ball so quickly between them that it wore out the opponents, which eventually made them do more mistakes and weakened their attacking system. In order to regain possession as fast as possible, Guardiola introduced the 6-second rule. Specific triggers at certain circumstances dictated when the player should hassle the opponent or drop deep. With the help of utilizing an extremely high defensive line and higher line of engagement and urgent passing intensity, something that may give you the assumption that a team plays the majority of the match in the opposite half, and that's what you want. Why not? So much importance is set on the first stage of attack that Pep has even set a 15 pass rule for the build up stage. This is to be able to remain the team shape while moving or disorganizing the shape of the opposition. In other words, these 15 passes will get the players in the correct position or zones and channels of the pitch, whilst making the system into a lightly packed unit which easily breaks down any counter-attacking moves from the opposing team if they get it. These 15 passes will ensure that your players have control of the center, channel as well as managing surrounding space. Within this stage, it's important that the players make as few passes within each zone of the pitch as possible, meaning the team will use the entire playing surface moving the ball quickly between each other. The opponent will then have to move from side to side to block off passing zone and maintain 100% focus and concentration. The founding principle behind Guardiola's playing system is the focus on positional play, the idea of dominating the game through rehearsed movements and templates to dominate the game. Here, the players have specific tasks and responsibilities at each phase of the game. Their options and level of mentality is predetermined by and dependent on the location of the ball. Pep introduced the idea of total football. that is, involve all 11 players. The game would generally begin with the goalkeeper passing the ball to the defender, who are highly comfortable on the ball. They will pass it to the wingbacks, pushing up the pitch to create overlaps and overload the opposition by creating 2-on-1 situation along with the wingers. Similarly, midfielders will try to create spaces through the mid by defense splitting passes or will pass the ball sideways while looking for an opening. Busquets would drop in between the central defenders to aid ball circulation, while Iniesta and Xavi will be in an asymmetric midfield with Messi dropping in deeper to create various attacking triangles. Wingers make darting inverted runs to split the defenders, enabling Messi to cut in. And that's a goal. That's it from Tactical Point today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe. There's more to come from News Roundup and Transfer Market. Stay tuned and Visca El Barca.